Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are cracking open one of literature's greatest, most enduring puzzles, the story of Faust. You know the basics. A man sells his soul to the devil. But what that bargain actually means and where it ultimately leads him, well, that's a story that has radically, and I mean radically, changed over time.
Okay, so let's just dive right in, because this is wild. The character of Faust, he starts out as the literal poster child for damnation. He's a clear-cut warning, don't you dare stray from the righteous path. But fast forward a few centuries, and he becomes this incredible symbol of redemption, who is saved because of his relentless, world-shaking ambition. And that's really the core question we're tackling, isn't it? How does that happen? The journey between these two completely opposite versions of Faust, well, it tells us so much about how our ideas of morality, ambition, and even what it means to be human have profoundly shifted. To really get how this story evolved so dramatically, we have to go back to the very beginning. We're talking about the original German text, the Faust book, from way back in 1587. This is the bedrock, the foundation for everything that comes after. And listen, this first version had zero subtlety. Its purpose was simple, to scare you straight. It was a powerful lesson about the dangers of abandoning your faith for worldly power. This wasn't some deep dive into Faust's psychology. It was a straightforward, black and white moral lesson. Don't do this or you will be damned. Period. And what's so fascinating here is how literally they took evil. The devil wasn't some metaphor for temptation inside your head. No, he was a real monstrous creature. Horns, wings, the whole shebang, physically in the room with you, ready to drag you to hell. There was absolutely no room for interpretation. So the legend travels, it makes its way to Renaissance England, and it falls into the hands of the brilliant and controversial playwright Christopher Marlowe. And he takes this simple moral lesson and twists it into a profound, gut-wrenching tragedy of human intellect and pride. So Marlowe, he injects this story with incredible psychological depth. His Faustus is a genius, but he's just insatiable. The conflict is suddenly internal. It's his agonizing battle inside his own head between his soaring pride and the chance to repent. But, and this is a huge but, the outcome is exactly the same. His pride wins out, it seals his fate, and when the clock strikes midnight, he is dragged screaming to hell. The warming still holds. And then, everything changes. Centuries later, the German poet Goethe comes along, and he doesn't just revise the story, he completely flips the script. He takes this tale of damnation and transforms it into a massive, two-part epic about the unstoppable, restless nature of the human spirit. You see, Goethe's Faust isn't just after power or knowledge anymore. He's bored with dusty old books. He's profoundly dissatisfied. What he wants is to engage fully with life itself, with nature, with raw, visceral experience. His whole goal is to chase a moment of pure, perfect satisfaction, a moment he's pretty sure he can never actually reach. And this table just lays it all out so perfectly. You can literally see the evolution here. The terms of the deal itself change completely. It's not a simple transaction for a 24-year power trip anymore. The deal with Mephistopheles is now this lifelong philosophical wager. The devil only gets Faust's soul. If Faust ever finds a moment so perfect, so content, that he wishes for it to stay, that he stops striving. And that right there is the game changer. For Goethe, the meaning of life isn't in achieving the goal, it's in the endless, restless, passionate pursuit of it. So in the end, despite all the chaos and immense suffering he causes, Goethe's Faust is saved. He's redeemed by God's grace precisely because he never stops striving. The entire legend is turned on its head. So how in the world do we make sense of this? This radical jump from guaranteed damnation to divine redemption? Well, to really get it, we need to look beyond the story for a second and grab a new tool, a new lens from philosophy. And that lens comes from Friedrich Nietzsche, speaking through his prophet, Zarathustra. Through Zarathustra, we get this idea of the ignoble man. And this is a person whose morality is born from weakness and fear. He's a reactive soul. He's always looking for external rules, for a master to punish him, a devil to tempt him, and a god to forgive him. His whole sense of good and evil is handed to him. He calls his fear piety and his chains morality.
But then, in total contrast, you have the noble man, and he's described as a self-propelled wheel. I love that imagery. He doesn't ask for permission to act. He doesn't look for outside validation. He creates his own values, his own good and evil, out of his own inner strength and abundance. He doesn't say, I must, according to some law. He simply says, I will.
And this just reframes everything. Mephistopheles, the devil, isn't some grand cosmic force of evil. He's just the shadow that the ignoble soul needs to feel alive. But the nobleman? He has no need for a devil to grant him power, because he is the source of his own power.
Okay, so armed with this powerful new lens, this idea of noble versus ignoble morality, let's go back and look at Faust one last time. Because, believe me, his story looks completely different now. So from this new perspective, Faust's initial sin wasn't that he was too wicked or too evil. It was that he was too small. He was still ignoble. He needed an external force, a devil, to give him permission to act on his own ambitions, to justify breaking the rules, to truly feel alive. He sought a bargain when he should have been seeking a throne inside himself. His entire life, then, becomes this incredible journey of transcending that initial weakness. He starts out as a Fausterian man, needing a tempter. But through his endless, chaotic striving, he learns that the pact itself was thinking way too small. He realizes that true, meaningful power comes from within. He evolves from that reactive soul into a noble creator.
The Faustian legend, then, isn't just a story about one man's soul anymore. It becomes a question for all of us. Are we following the rules laid out for us, looking for masters to punish us or devils to tempt us? Or do we have the courage to become that self-propelled wheel, to create our own values, and to turn our own shadow into a path forward?